Welcome back to the Tristian Clunis podcast. It's been a hell of a year, 2022, and we are now starting the year off big. We're in 2023. Happy New Year to everybody that is watching. Of course, remember to like, subscribe, comment below. We always like to get your feedback, so please do so. And this year is going to be fire because we're going to have some fire guests. We're going to have some great topics. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about business. All things real estate, of course, is the focus. But I have a great guest here. I have, he's a mentor of mine, actually. He's a friend. He is an investor, real estate investor. He is a real estate broker as well. I think he's been in the business for just under 20 years, around 18 years or something crazy like that.
Well, look.
His name is Jas Takhar.
I appreciate you, brother.
It's my first time back, Jas. So you got to have some grace. It's been a while. It's been a while.
A couple of things. Number one, if I'm your first guest of the year, I guess it's all like downhill from
Yeah.
Pretty much. But joking aside, man, Tristan, it is, and I'm not just blowing smoke up you know what. It really is an honor to be doing this with you today because I've seen your journey. With you getting started with not just putting out the videos that you put out, which I think are like kick-ass videos. I can't wait to take clips from this podcast, put it onto my platform to make sure that my guys and gals kind of follow you, and I know a lot of them do already. You're one of the funniest men in real estate, like hands down. The shit that you come up with, the creative ways and stuff like that. But also I've seen the content journey of yours with this podcast, right? And I've been lucky enough to be really, really close to it. And for the day that you came in and you talked about doing this, I was like, this is a no-brainer for you, Tristan. Like once you get over having a bunch of cameras and a bunch of people, which is slightly different than you doing the videos that you do, it's going to be a game changer for you. And now I get to see all the comments you're getting and people talking about it. Look, as a fellow content creator, I know how tough it is, brother, to like book guests and then you got to reschedule them. You got to come up with topics and then you got to put yourself out there with a lot of, unfortunately, there's a lot of haterade out there sometimes when you're putting yourself out there, but you just mosey on along and do your thing. So congratulations to you for the year you had in 2022. I'm so excited for what yourself and your team's going to be doing for 2023 because we've been talking about what you have planned, especially working with so many more investors,
Sure.
Because I think that's the game changer, man. Look, as a fellow podcaster as well, it's why I tried to stay quiet while you're doing the intro because sometimes I can just kind of take over and then I start asking the questions. So I got to be careful not to do that today. But real estate is, in my opinion, one of the best vehicles that you can use to create wealth. I don't think it's the only one. I'm not even saying it's the best one. I think it's one of the best. And the fact that you're going to be now transitioning a lot of your business, not all of it, but correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of your business
100%. That's
to work with investors to help them create wealth, to get out of the rat race. And it's not, what I really like about what you do, man, and what you talk about is the fact that you're not talking about the get rich quick scheme stuff, like buy this, flip this, do this. That's not the shit that you're talking about.
Well, just to touch on that, we watched that happen over the last couple of years, even with obviously crypto is going to be awesome. We know that there's a future in crypto, but
I think there's a long-term
100%. But for the people that thought they can just get rich quick, invest everything in it,
I think in anything, even in real estate, if you put all your money in, it's the old adage, right? Some of the younger people that are watching and listening right now are not gonna, maybe they haven't heard some of these things, so there might be some value in talking about it. But the old adage of trying to put all your eggs in one basket and not diversifying, that's not a good idea, right? Because when shit hits the fan, or not even necessarily hits the fan, and there's some like a massive market crash, even when there's like a soft landing, or really in investing terms, the word is called a correction.
Right.
So what we're going through now
is
what
we're
going to talk about. But all markets have it. The stock market has it. The crypto market's going through it right now. Businesses have it. When times get tough, you're not seeing as many businesses open up.
Right.
The valuation of those businesses come down as well. Those are just corrections. But real estate just has, in my opinion, one of the biggest sample sizes. thousands upon thousands of years. There's been land, there's been people coming, they're picking, back in those days, they didn't trade kind of dollars for it. They did what they needed to do. They bartered and a bunch of stuff like that. But there's always been a demand for it, and there's not enough supply.
Right.
And so the values go up in real estate. Yes, they will come down, hence the correction. But over that, take 100 years, massive sample size, they're going to go back up again.
Right. We're gonna.
And I know we can go 57
we
different
are gonna,
ways.
I promise you, we're going to go into that. But I wanted to first touch, because you mentioned the content.
Yeah.
I know for me, like I wasn't big on social media years ago. Like I'll just do 1 or 2 posts. That's about it for the week, if that, and call it a day. You challenged me around this time last year, and you said, "Hey, Tris, I want you to start a podcast. I also want you to, post. Try to post. You wanted me to post every day."
Well, I actually, if I could wave a magic wand even in 2023 for you, bro, I want you to post 3 to 4 times a day,
guys,
on all the platforms.
3 to 4 times a day. So that's a lot.
And here's the best analogy I'll give you.
Go ahead.
Okay, brother? And your viewers and listeners will have all their own opinions.
Sure.
It's just my one person's opinion, by the way, okay? But here's some data.
Talk to me.
Posting 3 to 4 times a day is better than doing it like once. It's like using the analogy of push-ups. Look at you. You're in very good shape.
Not right now. After the holidays, I'm not
obviously,
sure.
look, I'm still
yeah.
carrying like 2018 holiday weight, so I'm still dealing with that. But doing 15 push-ups is better than doing 1. Nikki, who's kind of controlling your 1s and 2s in the background here, and the cameras, used to be a personal trainer. Nikki, doing 15 push-ups a day is better than doing 1 push-up a day.
He's shaking his head, yes.
Putting out content 4 times a day is better than doing it once. Now, what a lot of people think is like, well, then you're going to be bothering people. Not in 2022, 2023.
But not only just the bothering, is coming up with the content.
Well, I get that. And I'll touch on both of those things. But number one with not bothering people, the algorithms don't work like that.
Right.
It's the TikTokification on all platforms. What does that mean? It's all based on the interest graph. If Alex or Nikki doesn't really like the type of content you're putting out there, you're not going to go in their feed.
Right.
And so if they like the stuff and they're interested, hence the interest graph,
they'll get more of it.
They'll get more of it. And so that's how the algorithms are pushing out your posts. Hence why, like, look, we come from the real estate business, and when we stage properties, we always say less is more. With content, more is more.
Got you.
Always. Like, put out more content, because then you start the feedback loop in terms of where do you get like topic ideas. Look, I think the best thing to do, man, is to go into even other people's posts, look at everyone's comments, and derive pieces of content out of that. That's probably one of the easiest ways. I mean, you do a great job, man. Like, I see you do videos and stuff when a buyer emails you, like, what's the closing cost? Or how do I start with, investing into real estate? If one client asks you that, that is generally reflective of anywhere from 10,000 to 11,000 people thinking the same question. They're just not asking it because they don't want to feel stupid.
Right.
You're doing an awesome job by actually just putting it out there.
Fair enough.
Content's my jam, bro. Content's my jam. I love that stuff, man.
So my thing is, like, I told myself, you know what? Consistency and because I'm putting it out there right now on YouTube, on all social platforms, I will be way more consistent. I need to be out there because, to be honest with you, I've seen the difference. Like, even just the fact that people are noticing, like, when you go out and people are, hey, I saw your video. Keep doing a great job. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job.
How many people in the office? I know they're not thinking about buying and selling with you because they're brokers as well. But how many people are like, oh, Tristian?
Yes.
Oh my God, I just saw these videos of you and yada 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 yada. Right, but I think where it really helps you in your business is that your clients are seeing it.
Definitely
and
see
you're
it.
Educating them, man. I think what you're doing differently than the
Providing
other
the value.
76,000 real estate agents, unfortunately, in the GTA. I think what you're doing differently, again, just in my humble opinion, I leave it to the viewers and the listeners, your viewers and listeners, to comment and say, well, no, he's not doing a good job, or he is that you're putting out educational content,
Right.
which is different than
Look
at the awards that I won.
Fun videos, of course.
100%,
Yeah, 100%. But I'm not
100%.
doing the whole just listen,
That's
just
you.
sold.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like what I was saying is that funny stuff.
Yeah.
Where I can't do that. Like, it just wouldn't work well for me because I'm not naturally like that, right? where most agents, what they're doing is putting out just listed, just sold stuff, which look, I think it has its place, but what value is that bringing to somebody?
So true.
Right? It really is just bringing value to yourself.
Right.
Because you're talking about,
look at me.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me, right? Back in the days when you would do all your advertisement on newspapers, what agents used to do is put up a picture of their listing, but the picture of the house would be this small, and the picture of their face would be this big. Unfortunately, they took that mindset into social media as well, right?
To Instagram
we all know, right, as guys and gals, like if you're trying to get picked up by the opposite sex, the same sex, whatever it is, like if nobody wines and dines you, the probability of you getting into a relationship, going on a date, getting the key to the room, stuff like that is slim to none, right? So what should you do is put out as much as you possibly can of valuable content, and then let people start coming to you because they see you as the authority.
Right. And that's been the big change. And part of, obviously, we're going to be talking about, the year review. I really want to talk about, since we're obviously
let's get into
the topic. Let's do it right now. So we're in 2023.
Yeah.
It's January 2023. We just watched a heck of a year.
Yeah.
2022 was very, very, very.
Well, unfortunately, real estate wasn't spoken about in 2022 much better.
It was on everybody's, like, it was headlines.
Yeah.
And every newspaper on the news. So I want to kind of let's start off, like the media will put out there and say, it's almost like make you feel like the sky is falling. Like, real estate is now down to zero and all kinds of stuff. But a lot of people don't know what's actually happening. Let's even just start from the beginning of the year, the first quarter of 2022, and kind of work our way through the year and just give them an understanding of what happened.
Look, I think the first quarter and actually you and I were together as this office was being renovated. You and I had like a penthouse kind of rented out where we were running our operations and stuff like that. And so that would have been second week of February, when the first rate increase happened.
I did a video on it.
At that time, it was I don't think it was a quarter point. It was a half a basis point.
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't anything huge, like it wasn't significant at that time because it was the first,
and we knew it was coming.
We knew it was coming, and it was the first after a very long time.
Right.
Like we didn't really foresee there being as many as there was, and we'll talk about that. But first quarter, I think there was still a hangover from 2021, okay, where we saw a massive demand but very little supply, and we based that on and look, you're going to hear those words a lot, and you probably did in 2022. There's a lot of demand, not enough supply. However, the real way that we base that is months of inventory.
Correct.
How many homes and condos are on the market as of right now?
Right.
How long would it take for those homes and condos to sell based on the previous month's sales?
Correct.
Okay.
That's months of inventory.
That is months of inventory, which then determines what type of market we're in.
Correct.
Are we in a buyer's market, balanced market, seller's market?
Just for my viewers, can you explain? Buyer's market is higher months of inventory?
Yes. So buyer's market is when there's more homes on the market than there is actually people buying them.
Right. Which will cause a higher months of inventory.
Higher months of inventory, which puts a downward pressure on pricing.
Correct.
Okay. On the flip side, when you have very low months of inventory, to be specific, when it's 3 months or less, that's considered a seller's market.
Right.
Okay. That's where you'll have more buyers looking for properties, homes and condos, than there is actually people putting up those homes and condos for sale.
Right.
Which then puts a upward pressure on pricing, brings values up. First quarter in the Greater Toronto area, we were hovering still around a month.
Which is crazy.
So we're talking about a 50-mile for your out of province, and your out of country listeners, 75-kilometer radius, 6.6 million people. Okay, in that 75-kilometer radius, and it would have taken 1 month for if nobody else listed their home or condo
to go to
zero.
This
is Q1, 2022, to go to zero.
Yep,
that's insane.
Doesn't make any sense.
Why though?
And that's GTA as you're giving the average for GTA. There's some areas that were like 10 days.
I'm from Brampton.
Yeah.
We're all my paisans. Okay. you in the Durham side, specifically, I think it was Oshawa, okay? Even then, Brampton was down to 2 weeks.
Yep.
Oshawa was hovering around that too, around that, right
10,
around
10
there.
to 14 days, man.
10 to 14 days, and we're
insane.
talking about a 6.6 million population. Okay, but why? You have to ask yourself. Is because this Greater Toronto area is landlocked.
Right.
You go to the northern part of kind of Greater Toronto area / Southern Ontario, you have what's known as the Greenbelt legislation. It's restricted lands to preserve those lands, okay, for farming and just urban sprawl. It protects against type of urban sprawl. To the south of us, we have the lake.
Right.
Okay, haven't figured out what Dubai has where you can build on water yet, so you can't build there.
Right.
Hence why you have a lot of condos coming up in the GTA. Why do I say a lot? Well, I'm just basing it on the fact that in the world, we're number 2 with the amount of cranes that we have in the sky. Okay? That the reason is because
we're number 1 for a while.
I think we touched number 1 maybe like 3-4 years ago. I think the last count was number 2. We might be flirting with number 3 right now at the time of this recording. Can't build kind of subdivision, so you got to build upwards.
Right.
Okay? That's why you have very little supply. But where was the demand coming from? Well, even after the lockdown, okay, 2021, Canada as a whole brought in 2021, a little under 400,000 people. Okay. Immigration Canada brought in, not forecasted, none of that shit. They actually brought in 400,000 people.
Right.
In the last 30 to 40 years, we know that 50% of those people come into the Greater Toronto area.
Right.
Okay. Now, for everybody who's listening outside the province and outside the country, this is the point where, I probably get hit on the most. But I am who I am. I'm biased. I'm born and raised in Toronto. I think Toronto is the capital of the country. Side note, it's not. But I think it definitely...
For the people that don't live, it's Ottawa.
Yeah.
But yes, we're saying Toronto.
But now, hands down, Toronto is the financial heartbeat of the country, 4th largest city in North America.
Right.
Okay. We have what people call Wall Street in Manhattan. We got our Bay Street.
Yep.
The some of the best schools and biggest schools are here. Some of the best hospitals and the best hospitals are here. COVID lockdown, should have shut down all of our restaurants and stuff like that. Majority of our restaurants stayed, not all of them, but majority of them are still in business 2.5 years, almost 3 years later.
Right.
Okay, so we have a bustling service industry. Our tech sector outpaces Silicon Valley in actual jobs. Like, we got a lot of stuff happening. Okay. Hence why the 50% of that 400,000 that came in 2021 come to the GTA.
Right.
It's where all the jobs are.
Right.
Okay. And
just makes sense.
It just makes sense, right? Look at this room. There's actually someone from every single nationality in this room.
It's literally the UN.
It's 100% is the UN here. Okay. And so that's why people want to come here. Right. So that's the pressure from the demand side. Okay. Hence why we saw early 2022, we saw this massive shortage, supply shortage. It was right across all industries, but real estate was definitely feeling it. End of 2021, early 2022.
And that wasn't just GTA too. Like we experienced a lot of areas that just outside of the GTA, the Greater Toronto area, that were just booming.
Well,
were just.
You're talking about the Kitchener-Waterloos, the Windsors, the Londons, 100%. That was
nuts.
And in fact, Tristan, brother, that was right across North America, man. If you looked everywhere, I got a lot of friends in the business in all parts of the states, like Orlando, for example, was down to a couple of weeks of inventory as well, right? So early 2021, you got this pressure on the shortage of supply. Okay,
right.
Hence why values were still going up. But now, February increase happens to interest rates. You don't really see a lot of people panic at this time.
No, to be honest with you, in fact, it felt like it was actually continuing to
values?
Go up. Yeah, values.
Values were still they weren't
stagnant
yet. They weren't stagnant yet.
In theory, I know when you look at a graph, I know February was technically our peak, and then it started to. But we didn't really feel it like that. It felt like it continued to go up.
It probably takes approximately 60 days to 90 days to really start to feel kind of the effects of it. And to your point, the peak was in February, right? But you can start to see now March, April,
Yeah.
a lot more people being a little bit more timid.
Yeah.
Right? There's just people being timid, and the conversations are quite like, just so everybody else understands, conversations at home happen like very like it's very easy to understand. Honey, I think the interest rates might continue to go up. Let's just put our hands in our pocket and
Yeah,
not
let's
spend
just
any
wait.
money.
Yep.
Let's just wait. Let's just see what happens.
Yep.
And for some, I think that was a great idea. I think that was a great thing to do. Why? Because now we started to see another increase happen.
Right.
This time it was a percent.
But even before we get to that following increase, I remember when I was out with buyers and with sellers, I had a few listings at the time, and the change was so slight that we just saw less less offers on offer presentation night.
Yes, meaning like you just didn't have, the
Yeah.
52
So
offers
I had
on
a
a
listing.
property.
I had a listing at the time, and I remember we were expecting like literally 15 to 20 offers. We priced it correctly. The house was staged. It looked perfect. Everything was good to go. And I think we had about 3 to 4 offers, and that was huge. Like we were just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
We're not getting 15, 20.
Right.
We priced it right. The
Right.
house previous 2 weeks ago sold for crazy amounts of money.
And if you think about why that happened as well, and I definitely want to get your thoughts on it, because you're like boots to the ground more than I am, so I think like you're going to bring so much more value to that in that sense. You started to see people see the increases go up in rates, but they were so used to these like 1.992% increase rates. When they jumped to 2.25% to 2.5%, guys and gals that have been doing this for a while, like you said, a little under 20 years, it's exactly 18 years this January. Like 2% is it's almost free money.
Yeah.
Like we're used to 4.5%, 5%.
Right.
My first property that I bought was back in 2006. I got a 5-year fixed for 4.5%. And myself and my brothers bought like 3 homes like next to each other kind of. So we left the bank, bro, like no kidding. We thought we robbed it. Like we were like, dude, you got 4.5, we got 4.5. Like, holy shit, man. Like, you know what I mean? It was awesome. Like, so even when it jumped to 2.5, the savvy home buyers, the ones that have done it before,
they know.
Investors for sure. They're like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. So yeah, to your point, the reason you probably went down from your, 26, 32 offers that you were expecting to 3 to 4, you were probably hearing that from other agents and their clients.
Yeah. And 100% for sure. And then the other thing we also saw, like we had a time frame where we were getting pretty much everything was sold firm, like no conditions, no finance, no inspection clause, none of that. Everything was just sold firm right out the gate. Right around that time, we're starting to hear, it's sold on condition of finance and inspection. We're like, wait, what? We haven't heard those words in
5, 6, 7 years.
A year. Exactly.
Whatever.
Literally. Right? It's been a while, right?
Sure.
So I mean, that's when we started to hear, as I said, sold on condition and also less offers. Some people they set up their property up for offer, like an offer presentation for multiple offers and not getting any offers at all.
Well, they were probably
to adjust their price.
Hey, I was about to say that,
right?
They,
a lot of price changes.
They were pricing it based on the peak of February 2022.
Yep.
And then kind of moving forward along the year, now you started to see more increases.
It was a rough time. It was a rough time for sellers, because sellers, like now we're getting to like your March, your April, your May, when you're just about to discuss the second increase.
Yeah.
Sellers are still caught up on the February prices,
if not 2021. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know the peak was in February, but you started to hear about how many offers, and they're like, well, I'm going to get an offer. I just got to put a for sale sign on the lawn. Sorry, it doesn't work
literally
like that.
next door. So next door, probably got $200,000-$300,000 more than what you are now selling for. What I'm telling you, like, this is what the house is worth now. So it was those 3, 4, even 5 months was like very, very challenging for sellers. Great for buyers, because buyers are just like, okay, cool. Like that's awesome.
Well, now they could buy. Look, what I was going to say is, like, at that point, they could actually like put a condition in the offer, right? Like, a lot of people think that real estate agents love when there's these the market's going crazy. Like, you gotta imagine, and I'm not trying to like, get sympathy from people. Like, it's not where I'm talking from. I'm not from that perspective. But I just want people to try to understand that as an agent that's working with buyers, man, like when you're taking buyers out and there's 52 offers on a property, 25 offers, well, 24 people are going home.
Yeah,
like sad
Empty-handed, yeah.
and empty-handed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then you got to get back. And then here's the other thing that happens, right? Like those 24 people that lost a home in X area. Well, the next property that comes up on the market, guess what happens? Those 24 go there. Okay, now 23 people go
Yep.
home sad.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so this, like the fact that values were going up 21% in 2021 and you know later part of 2020, that's not stuff that anyways I like to see.
No, I'm right there
right
with you.
and I think
I'm right there with you.
you'll agree with me. It's
Yeah.
like anything that goes up that fast has to come down.
And it comes down hard.
It does, right? It
It
does.
comes
It does.
down
It
hard.
does. Now, look, I also don't think that in any area, really in the Greater Toronto area, values have come down compared to 2021.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and that's actual fact. Like if you're looking at a chart, that's
Yeah.
literally where we are right
but
now.
it hasn't gone down like when you compare it to 2017 or
No.
2018
No,
or
no, no.
2015 or
Nope,
whatever
not even
it
close.
is. Like,
Yeah.
like we're still above that. You're comparing it to, it's like going, just imagine going 140 kilometers. Don't go 150 on the highways because that's where they pound your car and all that kind of stuff, right?
Have you
They
experienced
take
that
away
before, Jas?
No,
or
I haven't. That's why I stay at 140. No, I'm playing. But imagine going 140 kilometers an hour,
Right.
and then you go to like 120. Yeah, it's gonna feel slower, but 120 kilometers is still
It's still going
fast.
fast.
It's the
Yes,
same thing with
100%.
the real estate market.
That's a
right?
great analogy.
Well,
It's true.
100%,
Yeah.
right? Like you gotta understand that yes, the values have come down, but you're comparing it to the best year
Right.
on record
Right.
at all, like ever in
Right.
history.
Yep.
So they've come down a little bit, you know. And as long as you know, and we're jumping kind of thing, but that's kind of
No,
what you
worries,
and I do.
man.
I mean, as long as you hold on to the real estate, if you were trying to buy something and flip it, I'm sorry,
Those people
you
want-
might you might be in the process of losing your shirt right now. Like that maybe didn't work out as a good investment. I feel for you.
I just had a
really-
conversation with the flipper last night,
See?
literally.
And
it
when
was
did he
at-
buy it?
They bought it in December of 2021.
Okay.
And they, permits and all that, they had issues, but they weren't able to sell it. And they just sold it. Sorry, they went firm on the, sorry, not even firm. They sold on condition 2 days ago.
So what did they do to the house though? So they
Oh,
bought it
they
in 20,
they gutted the whole,
21.
gutted to the
Okay.
studs, even exterior, put
Got it.
like stucco and
Okay.
did a pool, landscaping, exterior, interior, like everything was done.
Yep.
Completely done.
Yep.
August, I think they ran into some issues. They wanted to list it in August.
Okay.
Which would have probably been similar pricing that we have right now, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, because it's been stagnant
For
since
sure.
July.
Yeah.
But they missed the jump. They bought in the peak when it was in, well, not the peak, but they bought when the high times in December, hoping that it was going to continue to go that way, and weren't able to get it ready in time to.
And look, man, I've seen a
To
lot of
benefit.
people make a lot of money with
Yeah,
that strategy.
Sure. But
Okay.
then when you're wrong, it's
when you're wrong, and especially if you don't have the slush fund, so to
Yeah.
speak, the reserve fund, the emergency funds, or if like it's your only one that you're flipping, that could be very, very tough.
Yeah.
Right? It's why what we like to talk about, and I say we, like you and I, is the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Which in real estate means you buy a property, you rent out that property, and you hold on to it for the long term.
right.
And so when there is a correction like this, my advice would be don't think about selling it. Don't think about refinancing it because it's corrected. It's come down.
Right.
Now when the values go up again, if you wanted to cash out, would be the time. However, what we would advise is to actually pull out the equity, refinance it because the values have gone up.
Right.
The bank is going to be willing to give you more money. That's when you pull that money out and then you could go to Vegas because it's tax-free in Canada. You could spend it in Niagara Falls.
Sure.
Or what we like to do is, create a bigger portfolio
Right.
by buying more.
So you literally, I know we're all over the place.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to. I'm okay with that. For
Well,
this
look,
one.
I think. Well, why don't we just, if you're okay with it, I'll kind of close off what happened. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah. Wrap
happened
that
with
up
the
because
year.
I
You know
want.
what
I want to
I'll wrap that up.
Remember that point that
Yeah,
you stick a pin.
100%.
Wrap up the year in review.
And I'm gonna forget, so you'll remind me. But with the rest of kind of the year, you mentioned like starting in July to right now till the end of the
Yeah.
year, start of 2023, it's been kind of stagnant. People ask all the time why the increases happen in interest rates. Well, in total, we saw 7 increases.
So insane.
Right? 7 increases. Never in our history
Holy
have we
smokes.
seen that many in a year. And we've never seen the amount of increases, because we saw 0.75s, we saw 1%,
Yeah,
we
sure.
saw 0.5s, nothing less than 0.5 for the rest of the year.
Right.
The last one was a couple of weeks ago in December of 2022, and even that was a 0.5% increase. And so why the increases
Sure.
though? Because of the money that we printed.
Right.
We printed in the last 2 years more money than we've printed in the last 40 years combined. So you put a lot of money into the system, which increased the value of stuff, hence why your gas and your grocery bills are so high. You also inflated some of the real estate prices. Now you got to bring that down. And the only real way to bring that down is increase interest rates, because what happens when you increase interest rates, you stop people from buying stuff.
Right.
And when people are not putting money into the system, the values start to come down. And hence why inflation is trending at the end of 2022. It's trending downwards, nowhere near where the Bank of Canada likes it to be, which is around 2%. We started this at the year. The rate that they were saying inflation was flirting around 8.6, 8.7. 100%.
Yeah, so because I feel like obviously 7 increases.
Bro, I can go really deep with that. Not only do I think they did it too late, sorry, Tristan, I don't think they should have printed as much money. Right. I don't think they should have locked down as much. So that's like a whole different podcast. For a whole different day.
We can go 40 minutes on that.
I just don't see. I get the lockdowns and what they did for as long as they did them.
Right.
It's 3 years later. We're getting a lot of data now about why they should have or maybe not have locked it down.
In previous years, whenever this situation happens where inflation is getting out of hand, they have to increase interest rates. If they get it wrong and they increase it too fast or too high, a recession usually follows.
Well, not only a recession, what we're really scared of is the D word, which is a depression.
Depression, yes.
Okay, that's when we get where we're lucky right now, and I'll speak only about Canada, but specifically the GTA, is what really should have been happening. And it, maybe we're slightly early. I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball.
Yeah.
But what should have happened in this situation that we should have seen is more people should have put their homes on the market. We should be in as of right now, 2020, January 2023. So to put a, real cap on the whole year of 2022. We ended up at a balanced market.
Right.
Slightly seller's market, actually.
It's still, because we're still under 3 months. We're under 3 months.
But now I think call it 3 months. Call it balanced.
Because I think November was for GTA, 2.6 something?
2.8, I think.
Gotcha, fair enough, yeah.
But I could be wrong. 2.6. We're talking about a couple of days at that point.
Right.
At a time where rates have gone up so much and there's been so many increases, what we should have seen is more people unemployed.
Right.
As well as more homes on the market.
Right.
Because traditionally speaking, interest rates go up. People who are on variables shouldn't be able to afford them.
Right.
They list their properties. Then you would see 6 months of inventory.
Right.
Now you're in a massive buyer's market. Hence why I said we might be early. I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Yeah. But we might be early to say that, to be honest. We might now. We have an announcement coming from Bank of Canada January 25th.
Yes, very, very soon.
In terms of what they're going to do with the rates.
Right.
Let's see what they do.
I think that they're just going to...
They're going to leave it neutral? Well, if they leave it neutral, then I think you're not going to see homes on the market as much. Because then I actually think what you're going to see is people buying again.
Listen, Jas, the second I feel, the second that people feel that confident again, and I think that what will bring confidence is not having, if they don't increase interest rates, either they drop it or just keep things the same. Don't do anything. I think that would bring buyer confidence. The second that buyer confidence and seller confidence come back, I don't think it's going to be necessarily 2021, but it's going to be a very different market than what we're seeing now.
And you're saying, you're using real estate terms in terms of buyer and seller confidence, but I love it. But what I was going to use is kind of more of an economic term. It's just unfortunate that there's not a metric for it.
Sure.
It's consumer confidence.
Yes.
The second they don't make an increase, the conversations, when I went back to the honey conversations at home, what starts to happen is, well, honey, maybe we can start to look for those bigger 100%. Purchases. Homes, cars, vacations, renovations. All that kind of stuff. Renovations. And if you actually even drive by a Home Depot or a Lowe's on a Saturday, Sunday afternoon, it's jam-packed.
Yeah, no, I think they said that they experienced like the crazy amount of sales.
So I haven't even
like
seen that yet.
I have the
You have
article.
that?
I have
Okay.
the article, the headline, but they're saying that Home Depot did really, really well.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
over the time when we were going through our
So there
increases.
you go, right? People are staying in their homes
Yeah.
longer, which we
Renovating.
kind of already knew, like,
Yeah,
that had
it
nothing
makes
to do with
sense.
the inflation, but they're spending money on renovations.
They are.
Where are they getting the money from? Yeah, they are, spending on their credit cards, their Home
Or
Depot
pulling
cards.
money out of their equity.
They could be pulling out of their equity. But I also know one thing in general about Canadians. Like, we're pretty conservative.
We are.
We're pretty cheap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't like to have massive mortgages.
Right.
The average Canadian puts anywhere from 10 to 15% down on a property.
Right.
I mean, to get an income property in Ontario, in our province, you have to put down 20%.
Right.
But you don't have these large mortgages. Hence why you don't see a lot of, in Canada, what's known as power of sales. In the States, they're called foreclosures.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot. You don't see a lot. Why? Because they put more money down.
Right.
They don't go jump into a property. As well as where the real, I think, conservativeness comes from is the banking system. Same thing happened in 2008, 2009. That wasn't just a Manhattan crash.
No.
That wasn't just a financial crash in the States.
was
That was a
global.
financial crisis global,
Yeah, it was
except for Canada.
Yeah, we didn't. So
Everyone
were you in the business at that time?
100%.
Okay, so I wasn't. I came
So I
in
was
2012.
4 to 5 years in at that time.
Okay, so I came in 2012. What was it like?
So I'll tell you
on
exactly
your-
what
yeah.
happened. 2008 crash happens.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was like late summerish, early fall kind of thing that happened. Canada, and I used to make this joke a little bit more, but so take it lightly. Is that anytime the states coughed or sneezed, we used to catch a cold.
Got you.
So they unfortunately didn't cough or sneeze at that time. They had a real cold.
Yes.
Right. But
They were in the hospital.
Exactly. 100%. Right. They were. What happened here is that you saw a blip. Go look at the graphs. You saw a little blip kind of late 2008, early 2009. It lasted for like 4 months here.
Right.
We saw a blip in values because exact same thing happened. Interest rates went up a little bit. Consumer confidence,
Yeah,
like
of course.
it didn't even exist.
Yeah,
So
media.
everyone was like, I'm not buying. They put their hands in their pockets. You saw values.
Media did a good job at.
Media always
Yeah,
does a great
of course,
job.
Sky has fallen.
100%. Right. Well, if they don't, then no one's going to click on their ads. Right. Like it is what it is. And I don't knock them for it. They're not non for profit.
No, yeah,
they're in it
they're
for
doing
the
their job.
profit. But back in 2009, the world looked at Canada and said, how did you guys get out of it?
Right.
Because in the States and in a lot of other parts, but I'll talk about the States in that sense, if you could walk, talk, and chew gum, they'll give you a mortgage.
Right.
If you could do all that at the same time. In Canada, bro, I got like clients and I do pretty well, but they put me through, they'll put you through the ringer
Yep.
to get a mortgage.
Yep.
You can have great credit, you can be salaried, you can own properties, and they'll still put you through the ringer. And so that conservativeness, though, really protected us.
Yes.
And is it going to be what protects us again? I don't know. I do know one thing. I'm confident, I should say, in one thing.
Right.
I'm confident in the fact that even if this lasts a year, even if rates continue to go up, there is going to be some hard times, but values of real estate will go up
Right.
because one reason and one reason only. Canada in the world is a place that people always want to come to.
Right.
You could have your feelings and emotions and thoughts about the red government and the blue government or this new reddish orange government,
Sure.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? But at the end of the day, people want to come to this country. And when people are coming here, especially coming into the greater Toronto area, and the one metric that we can't really calculate is what's called net migration, people flying in from Vancouver, driving in from Montreal, because
Right.
that's about 75, 80, 50 to 75,000 people a year as well. Okay. And there's not enough real estate. That's always going to put upward pressure on value.
For sure.
And that's kind of the whole cap for the year.
Wow.
And now I did remember
do
what
you
we were
remember
talking
what
about. Yeah, I do.
What were we talking about right before that?
Pulling out equity.
Yes.
Refinancing real estate. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the number one reason I like investing in real estate is there's a couple of reasons, obviously. One being the fact that I know people always need it. You need a
It's
place
just
to
what
live.
it is. You have to live
It's
somewhere.
quite simple.
Yeah.
Right. Number two is that over time rents always go up.
Right.
Even while values have slightly dipped in this correction that we're in, one thing has happened.
Rents. Oh my goodness.
Rents have gone back to
Jeez.
pre-COVID numbers.
Right.
Okay. And the best metric to use there, but we can use it in any other region. It's very easy.
Sure.
Reach out to Tristian. He'll be able to give you a detailed report of the corner of, X and Y in Oshawa and Pickering. It doesn't matter. He'll get all those numbers for you. But the best metric to generally use is a one-bedroom condo in downtown Toronto. Yeah. Pre-COVID, it was $2,540. $2,540 for an average one bedroom.
Right.
That dipped to $1,700 to $1,800,
which is a pretty
in
significant.
That's a significant dip, right? Because people got scared about pressing buttons in elevators, and so they left. And so
or
all
living
that
on top or underneath people.
Yeah, all that stuff. You know what I mean? And so they came back. Average rent right now it sits at $2,500.
Yeah,
for a one bedroom, and you're in multiple offers.
Yeah,
like you are in multiple offers.
Chaos.
You're getting 17, 18 tenants. Why? Rates are too high for a first-time home buyer to jump in. They're not comfortable.
They have no choice.
And so what they're saying is, I'm going to rent. The renters who are thinking about buying say, screw it, I'm going to rent. You have new people coming in. That's what it is, right?
And those new people that we have immigrants because we touched on it on immigration in Canada, and from my viewers, a lot of people I always say they're not like and I joke around with my parents when they came to this country, they didn't have money like that, not at all. You know what I mean? Like these immigrants are not like that generation. They're coming with trades. They're coming with skills. They're coming with money. They say within 2 years, 75% of them buy, like ready to go. They rent for 2 years and then they're ready to go to buy.
And the number we always used to quote is, I can't remember like in how many years, but only like maybe, I think it was like 20% of people that came back like a couple of decades ago.
Yeah.
Excuse me, even to a decade ago, it was like maybe 20% people bought within the first couple of years.
No, those numbers are completely different now.
100%, like from what you're saying right now, but you just had one thing that they needed, the other 80% had to rent.
Yeah.
So that's the second reason I love real estate. Number 3 is the fact that somebody else is going to give me the money.
Right.
It's not my money.
Right.
I just need to come up with 20%.
Right.
And I'm not just saying 20, like I'm not saying 20% is chump change, but if I buy something for $600,000, let's take something even higher. Let's use $800,000 as kind of a price point. I don't need to come up with the $800,000. I just got to figure out a way. How do I come up with $160,000 plus closing costs? Call it $185,000.
That's one of the best parts of real estate. What other industry stocks? What other industries can you do that?
They don't make it as easy. They don't make it as easy. There's ways of using like other people's money in stocks and stuff like that, but it's not as easy as walking into a bank, or getting private money.
Right.
Now, what most people should be thinking is, well, okay, dude, where the heck do I get 185 Gs from in this example? Well, you have a couple of options. You could have saved for it. You might own a property right now. We could refinance, pull out the equity. You might need to sell it. Okay, but let's just say you don't own a property.
Well, let's get into that, because there's a lot of people that are listening right now that don't own a property. They're looking at $180,000 and like, buddy, how am I going to get this money? Well, I have no idea.
So I think if it's your first property that you're trying to get into, I don't think we should be looking at an $800,000 property.
Right.
Right. So let's now look at something that's $500,000 to $600,000. Because now at $600,000 we need, let's go to the higher end. At $600,000, we need 120 plus your closing costs. You're about 135,000.
Right.
Okay. Call it 140 for giggles. Okay. At 140,000, now you also might need to save for this. Okay. You have to come up with something.
Yeah.
Because the other way to actually come up with that down payment is do a joint venture.
Right.
Like there's people who are watching and listening right now that are renting. I personally believe that you should get into the market once. Get into the real estate market, own a property at least once in your life. Why? Because you can take advantage of an asset that appreciates for you.
Right.
At least once.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
And the reason I keep on emphasizing at least once is that after that, you don't need to necessarily own where you live.
So that's my big line right now. And I did a video on this in social media where I say, buy where you can afford, rent where you want to live.
I love that.
So you buy where you can afford. If you want to live downtown Toronto, and
I've been saying that way longer than you, but you just articulated it a little bit better.
I think the way I say it is a little bit better.
That's why I said that. I've been saying it longer, but you articulated it better.
So
Tristian likes to talk a lot, but you didn't hear what I had to say.
Let's make sure it's clear. Buy what you can afford, and rent where you buy where you can afford, and rent where you want to live.
Yeah.
So if you want to live downtown, you like the lifestyle living downtown Toronto. You work close by. You want to be close to restaurants, so on and so forth. That's fine. Rent there.
Yep.
Your budget, may not afford downtown Toronto. Your budget may be, Oshawa or London, Ontario. Why not buy a property in London, Ontario, or in Oshawa, rent that place out?
Well, we got a good mutual friend, Tyler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tyler's a great example.
Okay. Mutual friend of ours. And he has 2 little girls now. 3 dogs, 2 little girls. And he's in a place that he's renting right around where we're doing this recording right now. DVP and like Vic Park.
Yeah, like we're in Toronto.
Yeah. And he's in a place where there's rent control. So he has like a 3-bedroom townhome, I think it is. And I think he's paying like $1,800 a month.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Which is nuts.
Yeah,
okay.
amazing.
And it's under rent control. So the landlord can only increase it by like 2% every year. But what he did was, instead of buying a property for him and his wife and his kids and his dogs to live in, he did buy a condo in London 3 years ago.
Right.
He picked up a condo for, don't quote me on this, but I know I'm not too far off. I think he bought it for like $170,000, $180,000. Okay. He rented it out. Okay. The rent covered all his expenses.
Nice.
Okay. Now, that was 3 years ago. Today's value is a little over $235,000, $240,000. Today, even after the correction.
Wow.
Okay. I was just talking to him a couple of days ago, and he was like, hey, do you think I should refinance it? I was like, no, I probably wouldn't right now. Rates are too high. So let's just sit tight. Don't do anything with it. But the kids, I call him the kid because I've known him for such a long time. He's 30 years old. But he understood, like, I need to at least have an income property at bare minimum. Now, on that $180,000, I mean, he only needed about $60K.
Right.
You know what I mean? In actual down payment after it was all said and done. Yep. Okay. If that number that we were using before, Tristian, at $140,000, I want to kind of go back to that because I think people need to understand that when you're renting where you're living, and now your target is set that you need $140,000 as a down payment, you got to get creative, right? And one of the ways of doing that is partnering up with other people.
Right.
So there's and I think you do an awesome job with this because you do what's known as a real estate action plan.
Yep.
You sit down with your clients. You find out what they're trying to accomplish. You get them in touch with a mortgage advisor. None of this costs them any money.
Nope.
Like, you don't charge for any of this. They sit down with their your mortgage advisor, and you have a team of them, and you guys as a team try to figure out, okay, can they do this on their own?
Right.
If they can't, then you might partner them up with Nikki, or you might partner them up with Nikki and Steven.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's the other way of doing it. It's just a fancy word. It's called joint ventures. All it is a couple of people getting together, putting their down payments together, buying a property, renting it out. Like, let's not be too cool here. You know what I mean?
And I don't want to I want to make sure that we focus on that because I think that's going to be a big way for people to get into the market for this year specifically.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, 100%. I think, and then I think the other way that you could also do is stomach a lesser home.
Right.
Right? Like, I get that your cousins maybe bought a 2,600 square foot home in Durham.
Sure.
And now you need to get 2,700 because you need to put it on Instagram. I get it.
Because you have to put it on Instagram.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, but maybe you go the other way for a few years and you buy a property that has an upstairs and a downstairs and live downstairs, rent out the upstairs, covers majority of your expenses, maybe not all of your expenses, the mortgage, the property tax, and
come out
the
of pocket
utilities.
A little bit,
But you're living. You have to pay somewhere to live.
Correct.
Right? What if you could pay a lot less but still own the property?
Yep.
Okay. So that's one way of doing it. And now I know
we call it house hacking.
Again, fancy word for it.
I got
right?
you.
The kids came out with this kind of stuff, right? The kids came out with this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I think it's just smart, man.
Yeah,
I think our parents, I'm the son of a taxi driver and a factory worker, right? So
give some insight about, even for you, like, as I said, like you're a mentor of mine, especially on the investor side. Like, talk to me about how you got started, and like we kind of touched on what people could do in this time frame in 2023, but even for you, like, how did you get started in real estate?
Well, yeah, and I appreciate it. Father taxi driver his whole life, mother factory worker her whole life. They never they didn't have the education. My mom has a grade 4 education. My father has a grade 8 education from back home, right? So nobody taught them about how to really even create what nobody taught them at all how to create wealth. Taught them very, very little on how to put away money.
Sure.
They just had to. They had no choice,
Right.
right? Now we didn't grow up. I'm born and raised in an area called Rexdale, kind of the northern part in Toronto.
I'm on the east side.
You're on the east side, yeah.
We don't really mix with the.
Generally, we wouldn't even be doing a podcast together. Don't play. They were taught what the bank kind of taught them, put away money
Right.
and all that kind of stuff, right? But for me, I actually at the age of 19, 20 was the first time I saw one of my neighbors shoveling the snow of 4 of the houses
Oh, interesting.
on the street.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck is this? So it wasn't 1920, sorry. It was 22.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm like, what the heck is this guy doing? Maybe he can come shovel our snow
Sure.
as well, right?
Yeah.
This is his service. Got to talking with the guy,
Yeah.
and he told me he owned all these
That's
properties.
amazing. Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is crazy. I was like, how does this work? He kind of gave me a little bit, just while he was shoveling, right? That's when I actually went and got my license. I thought I was getting my real estate license to be taught how to invest in real estate.
Interesting.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Right. So then I got into the business. Always liked the business in terms of sales and all that kind of stuff. But the game plan was always to invest. Always to
And how
invest.
do you guys do it? How do you invest?
So where I started, I actually think this is probably, again, if we're looking at making the choice that real estate investing is the way that we're going to go, again, putting aside, yes, you're looking at 2 brokers and all
Sure.
that kind of stuff. So we are a little biased, but we've also said that it's not the only way to invest.
No.
But if you're looking at real estate investing, I think one of the best ways to invest into real estate, bare minimum, it's one of the easiest ways to get into it, is doing what's called investing into a new build.
Okay.
It's a different type of investment. It's not going to be like a buy and then you flip, where you buy, you renovate, and then you flip, because then you put in some what's known as sweat equity in that type
Right.
of investment. You're not going to have a lot of cash flow either, because you're buying generally a condo. And the reason when you buy new build, you'd probably want to buy a condo is because you buy yourself time. Because a condo takes 3 to 4 to 5 years to get built. Call it 4 years on average.
Yep.
Okay, from the time you buy it to when it gets built and you get the keys. But because it takes that long, the builder doesn't need the developer who's building the building doesn't need all your money out at once.
Right.
So they allow you to do 20% down. You need to, I apologize, put down 20%, but they allow you to put that in installments over 4 years.
Right.
So for me, as somebody who was in my mid-20s at that time when I was looking into doing this for the first time, I was like, whoa, this is awesome. I don't need to come up with, first condo was $340,000. So we're looking at $68,000 as my full down payment.
Right.
I don't need to come up with that all at once. I could do it in installments. Great. This is going to be it's going to be a lot easier for me. But in your 20s, mid-20s, early 30s even 35, 40 even, it's your first investment, it also becomes the best forced savings plan. Because you can imagine, somebody in their 25s and their 30s, I also had some other ambitions to spend money somewhere else. And I'm just talking about dumb shit. Going on vacation, spending money on, partying, and all that kind of stuff. Get some more kicks, get a better car, get some rims and all that kind of stuff, right? But it didn't allow me to do it.
Right.
Because I knew I needed to make an installment in 6 months, in a year and a half, in 2 years. So
you don't want to miss any of those installments.
Well, you can't, because the builder will take it back.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
in a contract, right?
Exactly.
But what happened is those values went up when I closed on them. I went to the bank. To go back to our conversation, I went to the bank, pulled out equity, which is the word what we use is called refinancing. I took that money. It's the only legal way not to pay taxes in Canada, because you're not selling anything so that you don't get taxed on it. I took that and I bought another one. And I just kept on repeating it, rinsed and repeated. It's the most boring type of investments, right? But look, I'm not that smart, man. I barely passed high school. And so I just kind of latch on to what successful people do. Warren Buffett, one of probably, arguably the best investor of our time, always said that he wants to make his investments boring and his lifestyle exciting.
Interesting.
And I was like, all right, I heard that, as a 24-year-old when I started to get into like personal development,
Right.
when I got my real estate license, I was like, all right, that makes sense to me, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not that risk. Like, I don't like a lot of risk. So give me something that's boring and makes money over time. Like as a kid, my favorite story was the tortoise and the hare.
Right. Fair enough.
I loved that. Like I was like, this is so cool. Friggin' hit like rabbit could, like, why did he rest? Like he could have just finished the whole
just
thing.
call it a day.
But
Yeah.
that turtle, man, he just kept chugging along, right?
Yeah.
I run my businesses like that. I run kind of my life like that. And I definitely run my investments like that.
And like, how long did it take for you to get to? So you started in 2000 and like,
so my first property was in 2000, and my first property was in 2006.
Okay, and for the most part, it's mainly condos, or?
Yeah, so right now I'm at 11 doors.
Nice.
Out of the 11 doors, 7 of them are condos built, already rented, all that stuff. I got 2 in progress,
right?
in
Yeah,
development. I think they close in like maybe 2 years or 2.5 years. There's obviously some delays with COVID and stuff, and I don't mind the delay right now because I don't want to close with the higher rates if I don't
Right,
have to.
makes sense.
If I do, I'll do what I got to
Sure.
do, right? And then I have 2 investments that I'm a joint venture partner in,
Nice.
and in multiplexes,
Awesome.
right? And so that's a different way to invest on. And I think you and I could do part 2 of this.
We're gonna do part
later
2 on
on.
multiplex. 'Cause I like that.
Where we will just go, maybe what we could do, if you're down, is that we can talk about the individual benefits and considerations on each type of property.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, maybe your guys and gals in the comments will say, this Indian guy sucked, or this guy's really good looking, bring him back again. I'll let them decide.
Well, so I like that, because I think that there are different ways or different strategies. Part of in the real estate action plan that one of the questions that I do ask is, okay, well, what's your focus? Do you prefer cash flow? You focus on cash flow, or you focus on appreciation?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that's like, obviously your way. I would say
I'm
is
more
more
of an
heavily
equity play. Yeah,
equity play, building appreciation. Yeah,
long term.
Yes,
long term. I just turned 41. And even if you're 62 right now and you're listening, like, I get back in the 50s and 60s, you might have been dead already. Like, you know what I mean? Because people are only living till 45 and 50, but you live until like 100 now,
right?
Man. So you got another 40 years. So don't
Right.
tell me that you don't have enough time, in my opinion.
Right.
But at 41, I'm like, man, I'm not even like, I'm like maybe at the start of the second quarter right now.
I'm
spring chicken still, in my mind, I really am, Tristan.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this for like long-term generational wealth,
Right.
right? So I have a day job. The day job pays my bills.
Right.
I don't have high expenses. You see me on a regular basis. I pretty much wear the same hoodie, like different colors and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but I stick to the same thing. I don't run high on my expenses, man. And so I don't need a lot of income. I like it.
Sure.
But I don't need the cash flow. Like, when I say I don't need cash flow, that doesn't mean I don't want my rental income to cover my expenses.
Right.
Some people like on social get all weird about it. But I don't need $1,000 from each property. Would I like it? Yes. But I like to invest in my own backyard. My backyard happens to be Toronto.
Right.
And in Toronto, it's more of an equity play where you invest, where you kind of park your money for long-term growth. And that's based on the biggest institutionalized investors and in real estate investment trusts. That's what they do. I'm not that smart. I just follow where the big money goes. I'm like, okay, I know in 10 years from now, on average for the last 100 years in the greater Toronto area, values have doubled.
Yeah.
We just went through a spurt where in the last 4 to 6 years, prices doubled. In the last 10 years, they probably went 5x.
Yeah.
But I look at that as outliers.
Right.
And so that's not kind of what the average tells us over a long period of time. And so for me, I'm like, I buy something for $700,000, it's going to be worth 1.4 in 10 years. And somebody else paid down the mortgage. Even if I didn't even get into investment 102, like refinancing and all that, basic, in 10 years, it's on an $800,000 property. It's going to be worth 1.6. But when I bought that $800,000 property, I put down $160,000.
Right.
So I got my mortgage down to $640,000.
Right. The equity.
But in the 10 years, a minimum $10,000 got paid off of it.
Right.
So my mortgage is probably flirting around $540 now.
Right.
But it's worth 1.6. Like, there's a lot of money that I can pull out if I want to, or just let it sit and let it ride.
I want to touch on that just quickly here because I know that there's a lot of people I have investor clients that are experiencing negative cash flow.
Yeah.
Maybe they may have been neutral. They may have been, up $100.
Yeah.
The ones that are with the higher interest rates, obviously that affects them because now it's costing them way more money. Their mortgage is costing them more money and it's not covering. So for the ones that are now in negative cash flow, maybe $200, $300, $400, $500 per month having to come out of pocket.
Yep.
Like, what's your take on that?
Look, I think you have a couple of options, right? Like, if you're having a hard time going to sleep at night, sell it.
Okay.
Know that when you sell it, though, you're going to pay capital gains on it. You're going to sell it at a lower value.
Right.
Okay. But you can't sleep at night. So what's that worth? I think that's worth a lot of money. Like, the ability to sleep well at night,
sure,
is worth a lot.
Yeah.
And so, if you can't, and or you physically can't make the payment, you have no choice. You got to sell.
Right.
Okay. The second option would be to bring in maybe a partner to help you.
What would that look like?
Well, so I'm $500 negative, say, on a property.
Yep.
And I say to you, Tristan, are you willing to cover this? And I'll give you equity in the property.
Right.
What that equity would be, and we would have to work out some kind of number.
Sure.
Again, you got to get creative.
Right.
Okay. Tristan says, go screw yourself. Hey, Nikki, you want to do it? No. Okay. Steven, you want? No. Alex? Yeah. Oh, you're good? Wait. All right. Wait. You and I are going to do it together.
Right.
So it becomes a numbers game. The third option, if you're kind of someone like me, where you have the day job, I do okay. Like, I can cover
eat as well.
$500.
You do well. Yeah.
Like, I'm blessed. Okay. I'm going to hold on to this property.
Because you're experiencing that now, aren't you?
100% I'm experiencing that. I'm probably right now, I just increased the rent on a couple of properties. So I'm down to like approximately, on all my properties, I think I'm at about 2,000 negative.
And it was way more before.
Yeah, I was probably down about 3.
Okay, fair enough. So $2,000 a month is costing you out of pocket $2,000 a month
in my whole portfolio.
In your whole portfolio.
In my whole portfolio.
Right.
I just want to make sure I'm right around.
And you're weathering the storm because of.
Well, the reason I'm doing that. So the way that I look at it, that's $24,000
per year.
Per year.
Yeah.
One, I'm going to be able to write off the loss.
Right.
Okay. Because it's a loss, I can write that off at the end of the year in my taxes. So it helps me a little bit there.
Sure.
Okay. The exact figure I can't tell you, but I definitely know it's going to help me.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you can write off all your losses and like any expense.
Yeah.
The number 2 reason is, so that $24,000 that it's going to cost me, I know that if I sell these properties, the ones that are negative, the tax that I pay on it, and it's capital gains, which is, the tax that you would want to pay.
Yeah.
Okay. However, you still got to pay.
It's still taxes at the end of the day.
It's still taxes at the end of the friggin' day.
Still coming out of your pocket.
Still coming out of your pocket, right?
Yep.
The fees that I got to pay and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm going to bet, okay, and I play poker, not professionally, not like a lot, but I do play.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with betting a little bit. And
sure.
Sometimes just taking a risk. I have a feeling that in a year's time, so call it, we'll pull back this recording, January 2024.
Yep.
2023. January 2024. I have a funny feeling that those properties that I'm negative on are going to be worth more than $24,000. And if it's not in a year, it might be in a year and a half.
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
I never bought these to sell them.
Right.
I bought them to hold on to them. The rents are being paid.
Right.
I'll increase the rents when I can. However, going back to like the first option, that's essentially the third option.
Yeah.
Which is you gotta figure it out, cut some expenses. Look,
cut some and expenses, lifestyle expenses, right?
100%.
Like if you had to get rid of a few subscriptions and all these different things,
pull out your credit card statement.
Yeah.
Like, ask my team. I'm not full of shit. Like, ask my team. They know I had credit card statements in the last 2 weeks on my floor in my office. Like, just, hey, where's there's double stuff? Do I really need Disney and Hulu?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Get rid of maybe organic bananas have to
100%. And then look, and the Disney and the Hulus, I kind of joke about it. They're whatever they are, $10 a month. But here's the other thing I would tell people is maybe you need to go on the mindset of going on the offense. Go figure out how to bring in more money.
Right.
So there's one, like, obviously you got to save money, but
things,
sometimes saving money, there's only so much.
Right.
You know what I mean? But one thing that you definitely can always do. I don't care what market we're in. Multi-billionaires in the millions of people, multi-billionaires in the millions of people have been made in downturns of markets.
Right.
Like, so we know this, okay? Is that you have to have the mindset of going on the offense and making more money. How? I don't know. Sell T-shirts. Like, go.
Uber Eats.
Uber Eats. You have a skill. You have a skill. Go put it on Skillshare. Like, there's a million ways. I won't say billion. There's millions of ways, and you got to cover that expense because, especially, like, I think you should do that in your life anyways. But if you need to cover the expense in your real estate, it's going to be well worth it because you will make this money back.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer in that. I think that it's a situation where, if you can, I've had multiple discussions over the holidays with investors, and one in particular I have in mind where you looking to sell this property. I'm like, look, this is a great property. It's a legal duplex. If you can keep it with legal duplex with the opportunity to potentially put a triplex.
Toronto?
Yeah, no, out in Durham.
Got it.
But legal duplex with the potential to make it a triplex.
That's
I'm
crazy.
like, keep that property. Like, I know you're feeling it right now.
Yeah.
Weather it. He made the decision to weather the storm because it just makes sense. Like,
look, I mean,
you're gonna benefit on a long. And he wasn't. And the other thing is when you change. When the plan was to keep a property long term, and you're now changing it due to the circumstances that you're in, whether it's the market or whatever the case may be, I don't think that you should do that. I think that the mindset should be, you know what, if I was already planning on keeping this property long term, I gotta figure it out. I just gotta make sure I get the expenses covered and weather this storm, because in the long run, we know that real estate values go up.
As an investor, specifically as a real estate investor, being scared of the values going up and down is like wanting to be a hockey goalie and you're afraid of the puck.
Right.
It makes no sense. Like, how could you be afraid of the values going down?
Right.
Like, that's going to happen.
Right.
Always.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're just in that now.
Yeah. That's just
so nobody likes
it when
they're
in the game.
Everybody loves when they're making hundreds
Sure,
of thousands of dollars a
course.
year in appreciation. Everybody thinks like, we're so like, I'm so smart and all this kind of shit. Like, people made a lot of money in the last couple of years that didn't do shit for it.
Yes.
Like nothing.
Literally just lived.
They just lived. You know what I mean? And now you got to have a little bit of stomach. And this is where the cream kind of, rises to the top.
Right.
You're going to see people who were doing it only to flip it.
Right.
And I think that was the wrong strategy from day one.
Right.
I'm comfortable in saying that anybody I've ever spoken to in real estate, I've always said, do not buy real estate with thinking about flipping it in a short period of time.
And even with like flipping, let's just touch on, and because I wanted to kind of wrap up with another thought, but flipping is obviously you have the buy, renovate, and sell side of things, but also a way of flipping would be flipping paperwork, which is assignments. A lot of people buy new, because you mentioned new builds. People buy new builds with no thought of selling. When the market was high, they were just buying it because they bought it at the first phase. And now, when it comes closer to closing, they're hoping to sell the paperwork for a profit. A lot of people are getting hit right now.
2 weeks ago, I mean, there was like protests going on in Brampton about with people who have to close on their properties now. And they're telling the builders not to let them close. But I know a lot of those people that were protesting are the same ones that made hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
They never gave that friggin' money back to the builder.
Right.
I'm not a builder. I'm not a developer. I'm an investor.
Right.
So like, I don't have any incentive in saying any of this stuff. But how you going to say, oh, don't let me close on this because I'm losing money? But when you were making money, you weren't sharing that with anybody. And so 100% do not buy a new build if you're only thinking about flipping it as an assignment, to your point, Tristan. Because you don't know what the market's going to be like.
Correct.
Have the thought that you're going to close on it. If you can't close, if you're coming up to a closing on a new build, like I said to you a little while ago, right? Like if I had to close on those 2 properties this year, I don't want to because of the rate hikes. I think I'm qualified to get the mortgage from what I know. And I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way, because you never know in today's market.
Sure.
But even if I wasn't, I'm going to get creative and get a partner in. So I can't get the financing. Hey, Tristan, you want to come into this, man? I put the money down already, brother. You want 25% equity in this deal, but you have to get the finance. Yeah, you're down? Good, let's go. So that's kind of how my thought process is.
And I want to kind of wrap up with this. 2022, we did a year in review. I know we're all over. When Jas and I talk, we're all over the place. It's just the way it is.
I hope you
guys got some value.
I think
Please
they did.
like, subscribe, comment. Let me know your thoughts. If you found this valuable. But for 2023 now, top of the year, what do you think if somebody's an investor? What are some thoughts that you have for them?
So as a real estate investor, I think you just need to get very, very diligent in working your numbers. Like you cannot. What got you here will not get you to the next level is my thesis and my mantra for the whole year.
Interesting.
In all aspects. And real estate investing is no different to me in that sense, meaning that what in 2020, 2021, 2022, you were able to buy something and if you just held on to it, the values were going to go up.
Right.
You can't do that now.
Right.
In 2023, we got to make sure that the numbers work. Don't make them work. Understand what the rental income is.
Right.
What the possibilities might be, but also understand that you got to work in vacancy, work in a higher interest rate.
Right.
Okay. Look at areas that you traditionally maybe weren't looking at if you're comfortable with it. Me, myself, like I like to invest, like I said, in my backyard.
Right.
Here, though, in this time, what you might need to do is go a little further out. Drive till you qualify, right? Look at more of your options. You actually have a little bit more time when you're looking at properties in 2020, right now at the start of 2023, because not everything's going into multiple offers. You can throw in offers, man.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a strategy for you. Maybe it just took me a little while to get to it.
No worries, man.
Throw in a lot of offers, see what happens.
Yeah.
See who bites.
See what sticks.
And now's the time to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any other final thoughts? I know you kind of gave us our 2023 review. Any other thoughts that you have?
Yeah, look,
before we
man.
wrap up here, man.
Look, at the end,
appreciate you, by the way, man.
And I appreciate you having me, man. Look, at the end of 2024, December 31st, you're going to be able to say a couple of things to yourself. One of the two. It's either going to be, I wish I had,
right,
and you're going to have a lot of regrets, or it's going to be, I'm glad I did.
Right.
You get to make that choice. Somebody who's watching, somebody who's listening right now, you actually have the ability to make the choice of what you're going to be saying. I'm glad I did, or I wish I had. And that depends on what you executed on or what you didn't execute on. And that's what I'll leave you with.
I love that, Jas, my man.
I'll give you one of these. I'll give you one of these.
I love it. You killed it. Exactly what I needed. Exactly what we needed to start the year off. I hope everybody feels encouraged and got some value out of this. We're gonna chop it up, make some clips out of it.
I think people did.
That's
Nikki?
amazing. Nikki, sounds good. Perfect. Well, remember, we're gonna be doing this regularly. He already put me on blast. I need to be more consistent with my social media and my podcast, so you'll be seeing more of my face, whether you like it or not. Clueless, ask Clunis. Have a great day.